Hi, it's Middah Silva. I'd like to share with you another Mussar thought that hopefully helps you in your daily practice. Sometimes I find it useful to go back to the beginning and to reflect again on the basics, the foundations of whatever it is that I'm learning and I'm hoping to practice. And so I want to go back to the word Middah. In the world of Mussar, we always talk about developing our character traits, our midot, or a singular Middah. We define Middah as a measure. So it's a measure of how I am with a particular trait, whether it's generosity, patience, love, faith, simcha, whatever that trait is, where do I sit with that? Do I have a lot of it? Do I have a little? Would I like more? Would I like less? And so Middah is a measure of where I am. But there's another way to define Middah. It's an internalized pattern of thought, speech, or action. A Middah is an internalized pattern of thought, speech, or action. So in other words, has it become habitualized? Have I taken something? I want to be more generous. I want to give more. I want to develop chesed. I want to develop kindness in a greater way. Have I internalized it to the point where it just happens? So I'm driving down the street and I see someone who needs to cross the road, and there's a lot of ice and slush and snow, and they can't drag their shopping cart across easily. What is my natural reaction to that? Is my natural reaction to drive by? Is it to stop the car and jump out and help them? You know, where am I holding with that particular Middah? What have I internalized in terms of thought, speech, and action? Now I know I have these internalized reactions for every specific event that might happen. Now I can decide whether I'm happy with those internalized reactions, and if not, then perhaps I want to make a change. So it could be, with the same example of seeing someone trying to cross the street and struggling, that my normal reaction is, I'm a very busy person, I've got to get to where I'm going, they'll figure it out for themselves, and I just keep driving. Right? However, I might say that I'm working on a particular trait that wants me to rethink that, and I don't want to be that way anymore. I would like to be the type of person that naturally says, I got to help that, I've got to help them. I've got to pull my car over, jump out, and help them cross the road. So how do we do that? If we think that we're loaded inside our bodies with all these predefined tapes, audio tapes or videotapes, these messages that tell us at every moment what our normal reaction is going to be, then we now have this library of tapes that we can assess. And my library might be, I don't help this person. I need to get to where I'm going because I've got other important things to do. And I might say I've got to take that tape and replace it with something that's different, and the new tape would be helping the person. So instead of focusing on how to redesign the tape that I don't like, and could I cut it up and splice it and put together something new, instead I switch my focus to something positive. Instead of trying to uproot a negative characteristic, you instead switch to the positive, and you just work on building the positive until there's no room for the negative. So the way it works in our analogy of having a tape library is you have this stack of tapes, and now all you do is start to build a new positive tape, trait, right? Tape. And that, in this case, if we stay with the example, the positive tape is going to be, when I see someone in need, I'm going to do whatever I can to help them. So I'll take that tape and I'll just keep working it and working it and working it until I've worked it into my library. And as I push that tape into the library, without realizing, the negative tape of I'm just going to drive by gets pushed out because there isn't space to hold everything. And that's how we handle the removal of negative behaviors and negative ideas, or negative thought, speech, and action. And I've now internalized over time something more positive, something more healthy, and healthy as defined in it helps me along the path down which I wish to travel. Another way to consider a bad Middah or a bad tape that you want to replace is that there is no such thing as a bad tape. There is only the absence of a good tape. There is no such thing as a bad Middah. There is only the absence of a good Middah. So our ultimate objective in life is to follow in God's ways, to emulate God. And one of the ways we do that in Mussar is to look at character traits, look at Middat, and work on developing the positive Middat that we see defined as God's Middat. Generosity, patience, love, trust, all those things. And so I work on developing good Middat, but what about bad Middat? What about anger? Isn't that a bad Middah? Isn't it real? So our teachings say that it's actually not real, that anger is the absence of patience. It isn't anger, it's only the absence of patience, patience being the good Middah. So God has this connection with us. God shines down Shefa. God shines down this abundance down to us, and we bask in that light, and we grow through that. And so now if we think about this light coming down, and let's say it's the light of patience, that God has patience and shines patience down on us. And what I do is, I now put up my hands like this to the light, and all around my hands the light comes down. But wherever my hands are, what's behind my hands is just shadow. The light hasn't penetrated my hands. So if that shadow now we want to say is anger, it's really not anger. It's just the absence of the light of patience. And the beautiful thing about this image, this idea, is that I'm in control. I'm the one that puts my hands up to stop the light of patience coming through. So I now get to take responsibility for my successes and the things that I'm not so successful with. And if I wish to develop greater patience, it's up to me to remove my hands. We do that through traditional daily Mussar practice. We could do it through readings, through learning more Torah, going and finding what the sages say about patience in this particular case. However it is, but I have the accountability, I have the responsibility and the accountability to remove my hands to allow more patience to come through. So I think this is a beautiful teaching about a Middah, that there is no such thing as a bad Middah, there's only the absence of a good Middah. And that it's my responsibility to see that I can take away whatever it is that I'm using to block the delivery from God of that good Middah. Thank you.